welcome back to the podcast playground. Our newest podcast is The Best Podcast.
Join Jay Carter and me, Vida Best, on The Best Podcast, where the dynamic duo brings you their insider secrets to everything wonderful. Now Jay and me dive deep into the top 5 everything, from the latest cell phones to affordable wines that won't break the bank.
So tell a friend, you've found The Best Podcast,
where every recommendation is a gem waiting to be uncovered. Tune in weekly for your dose of excellence.
Ever felt like you need, a map just to navigate the world of digital cameras? It feels like there are so many amazing options, right? Choosing one can seem like a real puzzle, but we're going to unpack the top 5 best digital camera brands, cut through some of that noise, and give you clear, hopefully actionable insights. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding the market's heavy hitters.
That's right. And our mission isn't just listing names. It's really to help you understand why these brands stand out, what unique strengths they bring, what makes them tick, and most importantly, what that means for you as a photographer. We'll look at their market presence, who they're aiming for, and their signature innovations.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we really zoom in on the brands themselves, what does the overall digital camera market landscape look like right now, say 2023 to 2025? Who are the big players?
Well, when you talk about market share, it's actually pretty clear. Canon leads the pack. They've got a substantial 50% of the global digital camera market as of 2023.
Wow, 50%. That's massive.
It really is. Sony follows. They're at about 26%, and then Nikon holds around 12%. So you combine those top 3, Canon, Sony, Nikon, and that's an impressive 84.3% of total unit shipments. Just those 3.
Okay.
And then to round out our top 5, you've got Fujifilm holding about 5.8% and Panasonic with 4.2% of the market. So these 5 companies together, they make up something like 94.3% of the entire camera market. It shows you just how concentrated the industry really is.
That's fascinating. And it's not just who is selling, but also what kind of cameras are really popular now. You hear so much about this shift from DSLRs to mirrorless models. What's the story there?
Yeah, that's a huge shift. As of, say, 2024, mirrorless cameras have pretty definitively surpassed DSLRs in popularity. And that's for both pros and amateurs.
Really? Both groups?
Yep. For professionals, about 63% are now using mirrorless, compared to maybe 36% still on DSLRs. And among amateurs, it's closer, but still leaning mirrorless, 54% mirrorless, 46% DSLR.
So why the switch? What's the big draw for mirrorless?
Well, mirrorless cameras offer advantages in size and weight, primarily because they get rid of that mirror box mechanism. They're often faster, too. That's why manufacturers are increasingly focusing their innovation there. You see the newest tech hitting mirrorless first.
But DSLRs aren't totally gone.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
DSLRs still have their advantages. Things like generally superior battery life, and there's a massive range of often more affordable, mature lenses available for them. Plus, some people just prefer that optical viewfinder experience.
Okay, that makes sense. So with that market concentration and the big shift towards mirrorless, let's dive into these dominant players. What makes each of these top 5 brands tick, starting with the market leader, Canon?
Right, Canon Inc., founded way back in 1937 in Tokyo. They have such a rich history of innovation. They introduced the first Japanese 5mm camera with a focal plane-based shutter, the mechanism right near the sensor, back in the 1930s. And they even launched the first plain paper copier in 1955. But for cameras, their EOS series, starting with the EOS 650 in 87, that became hugely influential.
Yeah.
Especially models like the EOS 5D Mark II. I mean, that camera practically revolutionized HD video recording on a full-frame sensor, changed the game for many filmmakers.
And here's where I think it gets really interesting for users today. Canon seems best known for autofocus and ergonomics, right? Their dual-pixel autofocus tech, it's just renowned for being fast and accurate, which means, fewer missed shots, even with fast action stuff.
Exactly.
And if you like that traditional DSLR feel, their mirrorless models, like the EOS R100, they still offer those large, comfortable grips. It feels familiar.
That's a huge selling point. They really nail that intuitive feel. For beginners, the Canon EOS R10 is a real standout. It's compact, handles well, has modern autofocus, shoots pretty fast at 15 frames per second burst, all at a great value.
And for pros?
For pros, the Canon EOS R6 Mark II gets a lot of praise. It's got a robust build, advanced features like that really intelligent autofocus, and it rarely seems to miss a frame, even when things get tough.
Okay, so from Canon's legacy and reliable performance, let's pivot to Sony. They seem to be all about innovation and speed. They came in later but made a huge splash, right?
They really did. Sony Corporation, founded in '46, used all their electronics expertise. They were dabbling with digital imaging way back with the Mavica line in '81, but they truly pioneered the full-frame mirrorless revolution. That started with their Alpha 7 line back in 2013. That was a game changer.
And they make sensors for everyone, don't they?
Pretty much. Sony is the global leader in sensor technology. They're known for high dynamic range, great low-light capabilities, color accuracy.
Yeah.
And yeah, they often supply sensors to other camera makers too, so their influence is huge.
And they're constantly pushing boundaries, like that Alpha 9 III you mentioned earlier, the first consumer camera with a global shutter. That sounds like science fiction almost.
It kind of is. I mean, a global shutter exposes the whole sensor at once, unlike the usual rolling shutter.
Yeah.
It lets you use flash at literally any shutter speed and completely eliminates that weird jello effect you can get with fast movement.
That's huge for sports or action.
Absolutely. And they also develop stacked sensors for incredibly fast burst speeds. Sony is really where you look for that bleeding edge tech.
So speed and innovation, what models really exemplify that?
Well, Sony cameras are just celebrated for their autofocus systems, like their real-time eye AF. It's uncanny how well it tracks eyes. Notable models, definitely the Sony Alpha 1, that's a flagship, a real leap in tech with high resolution, crazy fast shooting, advanced video. And then there's the Sony A7 RV. That one packs a 61 megapixel sensor, still has excellent autofocus, impressive ISO handling, perfect for landscapes, portraits, studio work where detail is king.
Okay, next up, Nikon, another brand with a really deep legacy, especially in optics and pro gear.
Oh yeah, Nikon Corporation, established way back in 1917, a deep, deep legacy in optics. Fun fact, their lenses were even used in some early Canon cameras.
No kidding.
Yeah. But the Nikon F series, introduced in 1959, that really revolutionized photojournalism. Those cameras were built like tanks, super reliable. It established Nikon as the leading professional brand for a long time. And they embraced digital too, with the D1 Professional DSLR back in 1999.
And today, Nikon seems best for lenses and low-light autofocus. Their Z series cameras have that new, wider mount, right? Designed to improve image quality.
Exactly. That wider Z mount allows for new lens designs, resulting in exceptionally sharp lenses that still somehow manage to offer character, not just clinical sharpness.
And the low-light autofocus.
That's another area where their latest bodies really shine. The accuracy stays high even when there's very little light or contrast. They perform particularly well, focusing on people, even people of color, in dim light, which has been a challenge for some systems.
That's a crucial detail. So while their DSLRs like the D5 and D6 were legendary.
Right, legendary for autofocus and robustness. But their mirrorless Z series, like the Z6 II, Z7 II, and the Pro Level Z9, they offer high-res sensors, in-body stabilization, advanced video. They're fully competitive in the mirrorless space now.
And any standout DSLRs still worth mentioning?
You know, the Nikon D7500 is still often considered maybe the best overall DSLR purely for its value. It's rugged, great image quality, superb battery life. It's a workhorse.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Fujifilm. They feel like the artistic choice somehow.
That's a good way to put it. Fujifilm, founded in 1934, obviously came from the world of photographic film, and they managed that tricky transition to digital while keeping this unique artistic approach. Their big breakthrough digitally was the X series, starting around 2011. Those cameras combined retro styling, really evoking classic film cameras with modern digital tech.
And that's what makes them stand out, right? Colors and aesthetics. Those built-in film simulation modes are amazing. They replicate the look of old Fujifilm films like Velvia or Astia.
Yeah, classic chrome.
Right. You get these beautiful colors straight out of the camera, no editing needed sometimes.
It encourages a different way of shooting, thinking about the look beforehand.
Plus, the cameras themselves often look fantastic. Those retro designs with physical dials, like on the X-T5, they're just a pleasure to use, very tactile.
The tactile experience is huge for a lot of Fuji shooters. And they also use their unique X-Trans sensor tech. It has a different color filter pattern than most sensors.
What does that do?
It helps reduce moire, those weird wavy patterns on fine textures, without needing an optical low-pass filter, which can slightly soften the image. So the result is often sharper images right out of the camera.
Interesting. So key models for Fujifilm.
The Fujifilm X-T5 is definitely a top pick for APS-C cameras. It's got that impressive 40.2 megapixel sensor, useful in-body stabilization, and just that lovely shooting experience we talked about. And the Fujifilm X100 VI, the latest in that line, is a fantastic premium compact. Also has the 40MP sensor, adds IBS. It's almost perfect for street photography.
Okay, rounding out our top 5, Panasonic. Another big electronics company may be best known for TVs, but they've carved out a real niche in cameras with their Lumix brand.
Absolutely. Panasonic, founded in 1918, jumped into cameras with Lumix in 2001. A really significant contribution was their collaboration with Olympus back in 2008 to develop the Micro Four Thirds system.
Right, the smaller sensor standard.
Exactly. It allowed for smaller camera bodies and lenses without, totally compromising image quality for many users. It made systems incredibly compact.
And Panasonic really stands out for its focus on photo-video hybrids and in-camera LUTs, doesn't it? Their GH series, like the GH4 and especially the GH5.
Oh, yeah, the GH5 was huge. They gained widespread recognition for advanced 4K video features, making them super popular with pro videographers and hybrid shooters who need strong skills in video in one body.
And what's the deal with in-camera LUTs? That sounds pretty unique.
It is quite cool. LUTs are lookup tables. Think of them as pre-designed color grades or filters. Panasonic cameras let you load and apply these custom LUTs directly in the camera before you shoot.
So you can color edit before you even press the shutter.
Essentially, yes. You can bake in a specific look, maybe a film emulation or a custom grade right into your photos or videos. It gives you creative control up front and can speed up your workflow. The Panasonic Lumix S5 II, for example, gets praise for its ability to apply, say, Kodak film looks to stills using these in-camera LUTs. Plus, it has great video specs and a growing lens selection now that they're also doing full frame.
Okay, wow. We've covered Canon's reliability, Sony's innovation, Nikon's optics, Fuji's artistry, and Panasonic's hybrid power. That's a lot of distinct strength. So for you listening, trying to choose, how do you even begin to sift through all this? It sounds like finding the right fit is really personal.
It absolutely is personal. It really comes down to matching the camera's strengths with your specific needs, your creative vision, and your budget. One of the first big decisions is often sensor size. Larger isn't automatically better for everyone, but it generally means better light gathering and impacts lens size and cost. Micro Four Thirds and APS-C cameras are great for a huge range, from hobbyists to pros who value portability. Full-frame models often target more advanced shooters, maybe with bigger budgets, who really prioritize that maximum light capture or super shallow depth of field.
And beyond sensor size, what else is critical?
Well, the viewfinder type matters. Do you prefer seeing the electronic preview of an EVF or the direct optical view of an OVF?
And handling ergonomics. That's huge.
Especially with bigger lenses.
Definitely. If you plan to use longer, heavier lenses, you need a comfortable, deep grip for balance. But honestly, maybe even more important than the specific camera body is thinking about the entire lens ecosystem.
Ah, the system.
Yeah, deciding which camera system, with all its compatible lenses and accessories, fits you best. That's often more crucial than picking just one camera body in isolation. The lenses are the long-term investment.
That's a great point. And different brands, they almost nudge you towards a certain style, don't they? They can, yeah. It's subtle sometimes. Like, we didn't dive deep into Leica today, but their rangefinders often encourage a slower, more thoughtful, deliberate approach. Whereas, a high-speed Sony mirrorless might be favored for capturing fast action and handling all sorts of conditions quickly.
So no single best brand for everyone.
Not at all. There's no one-size-fits-all. Your best camera brand really depends on your personal style, what you love to shoot, and what feels right in your hands.
What's really fascinating here is just the sheer depth of innovation, but also the distinct personality each of these top brands brings. It's clear they each offer something genuinely unique to photography.
It really is remarkable. And this maybe raises an important question for you as you continue on your own photographic journey. Remember that the best camera, well, it isn't some universal truth you'll find on a list like this necessarily. It's truly about aligning a camera's strengths with your specific needs, your creative vision, and your budget too. Don't just get swayed by the latest hype. Focus on what really resonates with your style and what makes you actually enjoy taking pictures.
That's a perfect thought to end on. We really hope this has given you a clearer lens, maybe, through which to view this exciting, always evolving world of photography. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep capturing those moments.